Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode, and I'm so excited to introduce you to someone named Siim Land. It's spelled S-I-I-M, last name Land, and he has a website, siimland.com. And today we are talking about intermittent fasting and autophagy, and of course, losing weight. So welcome, Siim. Tell people a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, you did say my name correctly, so that's good to hear. But it's an Estonian name, and I live in Estonia. So what I do essentially is just create content about optimizing your health, longevity, fitness, and that sort of things with different biohacking techniques that include intermittent fasting, exercise, taking saunas, doing some cold exposure, and yeah, like everything else related. So I have like a website which is essentially like a blog slash article composition. And I have a YouTube channel. And yeah, I've written several books about nutrition, ketosis, as well as autophagy and fasting.
Wow. And Estonia, is that near Finland? Are you
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
close
it's
to Finland?
directly underneath Finland.
Wow. Okay. Great. Well, we're going to jump in and I'm going to just ask you a bunch of questions. So talk a little bit about how intermittent fasting helps with autophagy. Explain what autophagy is and how intermittent fasting really helps.
Yeah, well, autophagy is like this, it translates into self-eating, and it's this physiological process where your body eliminates certain pathogens, different dysfunctional cell parts, and just inflammation and these different aggregates that tend to accumulate there because of being either exposed to certain toxins or just living in general. So autophagy is this very intricate part of healthy cellular metabolism. And there is some autophagy happening almost all the time in different degrees, but it especially increases during energy stress, such as like fasting, calorie restriction, exercise, or even saunas. And those things, they all promote this essentially like this cellular turnover where your body starts to clean out the house more rapidly and more thoroughly. And fasting itself is a way of kind of mimicking a lot of the benefits of calorie restriction when it comes to autophagy and other longevity mechanisms. So calorie restriction is very beneficial for slowing down aging and just improving general metabolic health. But the key parts of why this works has to do with autophagy and several other longevity pathways that get activated during it. And with fasting, you can kind of sidestep a lot of the negative side effects of calorie restriction, such as like malnutrition and losing muscle, and you can still gain a lot of the beneficial side of these longevity. And in a way, the intermittent fasting is also very beneficial for the circadian rhythms and your body's chronobiology. So your body is always kind of adjusting its metabolism based upon like the cues that it receives from the environment, and those cues can come in the form of light as well as food intake. So kind of confining your eating window every day with intermittent fasting, you can also improve your circadian alignment with the environment, and that again actually supports or promotes the functioning of autophagy, and again like protects against many of these metabolic diseases that a lot of people suffer from.
I love how you said, I read on your website, you had said that a lot of people think that fasting is the F word, like don't skip a meal or else. And the truth is that eating 3 meals a day is really not good for you. It's
Right.
deviant in nature. And fasting is what we should be doing. That's the norm. Us eating 3 meals a day should be, that should be an exception to the rule if we're having, we're on vacation or we're really kind of indulging that day.
Right. I wouldn't say that it's harmful, but it's definitely not ordinary for other species, especially as well as humans in the past. So yeah, we didn't used to have like these very planned out meals 3 times a day with snacks and etc. We were kind of experiencing very random meal times, and sometimes we would eat only maybe once a day. Sometimes I would imagine we would have eaten maybe 4 times a day, and sometimes we would have not eaten anything for like several days in a row. So this sort of a puncture, this kind of disruption in our balance and disruption of this habitual eating causes this positive beneficial stress response that the body has to adapt to, so to say. It creates this it's called hormesis, so to say, that where what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. And that's how fasting also is supposed to work. You disrupt this homeostasis, you disrupt the balance that your body is constantly in. And a lot of the time in the modern world, we tend to live in this very stagnant state where we're not really experiencing deviations from the norm. Everything is just, stagnant in terms of the food intake, as well as the temperature, and in terms of the physical movement, etc. We don't experience this disruption where our body has to adapt to the new stress, and adapting to stress is beneficial in small amounts, and it's definitely very useful for like increasing fitness and protecting against just general degeneration.
So one of the things you talk about is losing weight with oxidative priority kept in mind. What does that mean? What is oxidative priority, and what do you mean by that?
Oxidative priority essentially means that there's a hierarchy of fuel sources that the body uses. So there are many different kinds of sources of energy that the body can tap into, and there is a certain hierarchy based upon the metabolic status as well as like the particular physical conditions that your body is currently under. So for example, number one oxidative priority is actually alcohol, and because like alcohol itself is like a toxin that the body tries to get rid of as soon as possible. So whenever you are intoxicated from alcohol, then the utilization of other fuel sources such as carbohydrates and fat decreases a lot, and your body kind of starts to focus on burning the alcohol instead of the other nutrients. And the other nutrients are like protein, carbs, and fat that have a lower priority. And fat has actually the least priority in this particular order. Your body tries to, burn through its essential nutrients, it tries to use the essential nutrients first before it actually taps into its own body fat stores. So that's why you need to actually be in like a calorie deficit in order to start burning your own body fat stores. Because it's like a backup fuel. It's supposed to be this energy store that you can deposit like in these vast amounts of calories, and you only start burning it when there's actually like a necessity for it. But also like during the exercise itself and the physical conditions you experience during the day, those will also affect this hierarchy. So for example, if you're just moving around the house, you're not doing some intense exercise, or you're just going for a walk, then your body is already burning primarily fat for fuel because the intensity is low and you have a lot of fat that you can store. On the contrary, if you're doing something like sprinting or that is intense, some weightlifting or go to the gym, then your body switches over to burning glycogen for fuel, because glycogen is like a backup fuel that is supposed to help you to run away from predators. And in that case, you burn more glycogen. So if you keep these things in mind, then you can also kind of make adjustments to like the macronutrient ratios that you eat in a given day. So if you are very physically active, you do a lot of explosive workouts and this intense exercise, then you can get away with eating more carbs as well. Whereas someone who is more sedentary, they don't burn through that much glycogen, and therefore they don't need that many carbs either. They can eat more low carb and a higher fat keto diet in that scenario, because their body is already burning through more fat during the day.
Hey guys, I want you to know what I've been doing for my health that is absolutely transforming it. I'm taking massive amounts of vitamin C. Now, it's not just the regular vitamin C. This is 100% natural, and it only contains natural sources, whole foods like amla berry, camu berry, cherry. So it's literally just ground up fruits and massive amounts, and it delivers 750% of your daily recommended vitamin C. So I literally double it, and I have just seen so many benefits. So go to chantelrayway.com/vitamin C to get yours today. Okay, so I want to make sure I understood what you said. So you said, so when you're doing intense workouts, you're going to be using more glycogen for fuel. And then you said, but when you're walking, you are using more fat for fuel. But here's the thing, it really doesn't it depend on how much glycogen you have in your body to start with, right? So like, let's just say I have this much glycogen in my body, whether I'm doing walking or whether I'm doing intense workout. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm not following what you're saying.
Right. Well, like for example, you can do low intensity physical activity in a low glycogen state and still burn fat, so to say. It depends on the particular intensity of the exercise, and there's like a crossover thresholds where you start to burn more glycogen as opposed to fat, and it happens around for most people it's around 65% of your VO2 max. So if you start breathing through your mouth and you can't breathe through your nose anymore, then you switch over to burning glycogen for fuel. And for example, even if you do run out of your glycogen stores during that intense exercise, or if you start doing intense exercise with very low glycogen and you burn through that glycogen, then the body still needs glycogen to carry out that physical performance, so to say. And in order to achieve that, it's going to convert some of its own amino acid stores, or essentially its protein and muscles is going to convert that into glycogen through the process of gluconeogenesis if your glycogen is depleted during the intense exercise. And in order to replenish the glycogen, you need to either consume some carbohydrates or just rest and recover. So the glycogen stores can replenish themselves even with fat, but it has to take like a longer period of time, for approximately like 24 hours of not doing anything to replenish that stores. But you can't like directly take fat and start using that fat for the intense exercise, even if the glycogen gets depleted.
Oh my gosh, this is so huge. So I want to stay here for just a second, because this is one thing that I just had a guy on our show and we were talking together, and he was talking about how when he was going to the gym and he was doing high intensity workouts, like doing weights and then cardio, weights and cardio, like an interval program. And, you know, he was doing intermittent fasting and he wasn't losing the kind of weight that he wanted to do.
Right.
And then he switched, and then he just started doing walking. He's like, I'm just, you know, and then he said that the exercise was making him eat too much, because then he was just so ravenously hungry. So then he was probably eating more than he needed to. And then he switched and said, you know, I just moved to doing walking. And he's like, I started losing all kinds of weight.
Right.
So do you think that that is exactly what you're saying right here?
Yeah, that's a very common problem. Like people, they do this crazy hit programs where they're burning through a bunch of glycogen all the time, and they're also eating like a low carb diet, and they're doing fasting and kind of piling these stressors on top of their body, and this leads to losing their muscle mass, because their body essentially burns through the glycogen and starts burning through the muscles as well. So yeah, that's exactly like the problem. A lot of the times it's actually better to focus on doing resistance training, which is like an intense form of exercise, and it does burn through glycogen, but it's not you don't burn through the glycogen that much, and you actually stimulate the muscles to promote protein synthesis, and additionally increasing the lean muscle mass. So with that, you can just essentially improve your body composition by burning through the fat, and also increasing lean muscle mass, which will increase your metabolic rate and makes fat loss easier as well. So yeah, like a lot of the times it's not that you need to do more cardio and spend more hours on the treadmill. A lot of the times you just need to actually do the right type of exercise in the right dose and like at the right time.
So do this is kind of a big thing that people go back and forth with, is on the fact that when you do, I've heard a lot of people saying you should do cardio in a fasted state. And they say you should not do resistance training in a fasted state. Can you comment on that? Of what is your opinion on that?
Yeah, well, I think it would depend on the goals of the person and their like preference. So it is true that your rates of fat oxidation are higher if you exercise in a fasted state, but fat oxidation doesn't necessarily equal fat loss. So fat oxidation just means that your body starts to burn more fat as a fuel source, like I said earlier in regards to the oxidative priority. So you're going to raise the amount of fat that is being transported into your mitochondria, basically, and how much fat are you burning. But in order to still lose fat from your body fat stores, then you have to be at a calorie deficit over the course of the entire day. So it does promote, like it can improve how much fat are you burning during exercise, but whether or not you're gonna end up losing body fat depends on what you do afterwards and how much food are you eating. So it's not going to give you like this free pass, or it's not going to give you this get out of jail free card in terms of that. But it's just going to maybe shift the oxidative priority a little bit. But when it comes to resistance training, then doing resistance training in a fasted state will be more catabolic, so to say. It's going to be more damaging to the muscles, and you may lose more muscle because of that. And that in turn, if you do it all the time and chronically, and you don't compensate for it, then you may just lose muscle mass, and that can just lead to suboptimal body composition and that sort of thing. But you can definitely prevent that by making sure that you eat enough protein afterwards and getting enough calories as well, so to say. So it's not like a black and white thing that if you work out fasted, then that's going to equal muscle loss. But a lot of the times, let's say if you want to fully optimize your performance and strength development, then ideally it will be better to have like some especially protein before working out, because protein is going to be the one that protects against the muscle catabolism that happens during the workout. So yeah, it's maybe for people who are doing some form of intermittent fasting, then it's a good practice to maybe, I don't know, do some walking, go for a long walk in a fasted state before they eat their first meal, and then do the resistance training after they have eaten something. So they'll say, so that they will actually be able to push themselves harder.
Okay, so what is the difference between fat oxidation and fat loss?
Yeah, well, like I just said, the fat oxidation just describes the process of how your body produces energy at a particular moment, like what kind of fuel substrates are being used to generate ATP in the mitochondria. So the ATP is the energy currency that is used for all of these physiological processes. And you can generate ATP from many things, such as oxygen, such as glucose, fat, and other fuel substrates. They can all create ATP. And if you're using fat for producing ATP, then that's fat oxidation. Basically, you're burning fat. But fat burning a lot of people just use fat burning as a way to describe fat loss as well. But fat loss is that you're losing body fat, so to say. You're losing the body fat in your body fat stores. So it's kind of different from fat oxidation. You can be in ketosis and not lose any weight by having high rates of fat oxidation, but not losing body fat because you're eating too many calories. So fat loss is governed still by the calories and energy balance. You can't overeat calories, so to say, and still expect to lose weight.
Hey guys, I have a free smoothie book that has over 20 recipes that are super unique, like broccoli bonanza, great green smoothie, and mojito madness, and so much more. They are really amazing and you're gonna love them. And the best part is it's totally free. So go to chantelrayway.com/free recipe and you'll get the book and tons of other free recipes. Or just look in the show notes and click there. So let's talk about, I would say, the number one question that I'm getting lately from people. Obviously, this intermittent fasting podcast, a lot of people are losing weight. And so let's pretend that they have 60 pounds that they want to lose. They're losing 30 to 40 pounds right away. Like they're doing, a 6-hour window. They are eating what they want, but they're just dropping 30, 40 pounds. Now they've still got 20 or 30 more to go, and they can't seem to, some of them are like,
Right.
I'm working out, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I cannot lose that last piece. So what would you say are if someone just wanted to lose that last 20 or 30 pounds, what would be your suggestion for them? Talk about like what their workout would be, what their eating window would look like. What do they need to do?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think if a person is already working out, then adding like a few additional cardio sessions would be beneficial, because it's essentially going to make them burn more calories during the day. And even it doesn't have to be like a specific cardio workout. It can be just walking in general. Walking increases the amount of steps you take per day, and this is essentially like burning calories. So any way you get more movement into a day can be beneficial for breaking a plateau. And one of the problems is also that as you lose weight, then you may start to subconsciously move less because your body wants to preserve energy. So kind of setting a goal for yourself of how many steps you take per day is a great way to just keep yourself more accountable and consistent. So, I myself, I always aim to get like at least 10,000 steps a day, but on most days I still get like 12,000 or 13,000 or something like that. So it's just a good milestone to aim for every day. Secondly, I would also encourage to increase like their protein intake, because a lot of the times people tend to undereat protein, and higher protein diets in almost all cases lead to better body composition. They're going to encourage muscle growth and also fat loss. So protein has like the highest thermic effect of food, which means that your body expends more energy for digesting protein, and you're wasting more calories for digesting it. And higher protein diets are also more satiating, so you'll just feel full faster, and they also help you to build muscle. So if you have more muscle tissue, then you'll start to burn more calories at rest without doing anything. So higher protein diets tend to be better in almost all cases, and they don't cause any negative side effects for most people, unless you have like some serious kidney disease or something. So they're pretty safe for almost all people. And lastly, I would also look at general stress management, so to say, because stress can just lead to subconsciously eating more calories, as well as just being uncontrollable with how many calories you want to eat. So stress makes you raise more or release more cortisol. Cortisol also promotes slight insulin resistance, and it can also just make the person want to eat more calories. So those would be the three things that I think some people can use.
And for women, what is a eating window that you're saying that you're seeing people really lose weight on?
Um, I think the standard, the average, or the golden rule would be to try to do the 16-8 fasting, where you fast for at least 16 hours and eat within 8 hours. So there's no like a huge reason to be doing any longer than that, but some people may just prefer to either change it up a little bit by eating only maybe within 6 hours or less or something like that. That would be like just their own preference, but 16 and 8 would be the golden rule for me. I think that aligns with the circadian rhythms and just gaining some of the benefits from the fastest state as well.
Gotcha. So for me personally, when I did an 8-hour window, I didn't lose weight. So I had to bring it down to a 6-hour window for me to be able to really lose weight. I
Mm,
felt like I just needed that extra time for me to really be able to kind of shed the weight.
right.
I did like 6 hours and sometimes even less. Sometimes I only ate one meal a day or only
Yeah.
in 4 hours. Um, so as far as eating, tell us what does your eating window look like? What does your exercise regime look like? What does your eating window look like for you personally?
Yeah, I personally I do like it's like one meal a day, but with a slight nuance. So like I mentioned earlier, I don't, working out in a fasted state can lead to more muscle loss, and that's not my goal. So you should never want to lose muscle, and that's why I actually consume like a protein shake during the workout, and it kind of mimics like an actual meal. I'm getting sufficient amounts of protein to protect against the muscle loss that happens during a workout, and I'm still able to progress, which would also help me to get stronger and build muscle tissue. So yeah, it's like a 1.5 meals a day, something like that. And yeah, usually my workouts tend to be primarily with resistance training. I do go to the gym maybe once a week, but on most days I'm doing like calisthenics at home. So that's my preferable way of working out. And in my post-workout meal, I eat sufficient amounts of protein with like meats, eggs, and some vegetables, and some healthy fats with some tubers as well. So kind of like a low carb, higher protein diet with one meal a day.
Hey guys, I don't know about you, but if you are just feeling so tired throughout the day and just feeling restless at night, then I want you to try something called Energy Bits. Each package has spirulina or chlorella algae. They're plant-based and they have 0 sugar, 40 nutrients, 5 grams of protein. And so you are going to feel great taking them. So go to energybits.com and then you'll get 20% off if you put the promo code Chantel. That's Chantel. So what time do you work out?
It's in the afternoon,
Okay.
somewhere around 4 or 5 p.m.
So you work out around 4 or 5 p.m. And then right after so you're not eating anything during the day then. So all during the day you're waking up, you're not doing any kind of workout or eating. Then you'll work out at 4, then you're having a protein shake and then you're having dinner. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it's about right. Yeah, like I do go for walks during the daytime to get the sunlight and to get some fresh air and also like get my steps in. And the only things that I do consume during the fasted state are teas, water, and black coffee.
Mm. So I work out in the mornings, like early in the morning. So I might have to try that a couple times to see how that works. So just wake up in the morning, eat in it, just don't eat anything, don't work out. And then are you are you having that protein shake you're saying while you're working out?
Yeah, like in between sets, so to say, just
So
sipping on
basically you're eating one meal and a shake each day then,
it.
basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Got it. And that's how you're feeling the best, like the optimal performance.
Yeah, like I've gotten like adapted to it, so to say. So initially it can be definitely somewhat more difficult, but currently I don't feel any different, so to say. I don't feel tired. I don't feel that I don't have energy during the daytime, etc. So I can still perform and get my things done.
Now, do you have an aura ring or do you have any things that you kind of say, here's some of the things I love to use? Do you have any like of your favorite products that you love?
Yeah, I do use the Oura Ring. So that's like one of the best sleep trackers that I know of, and yeah, it's very valuable
I
for
have one
getting
too.
getting information about sleep. as well as just the heart rate variability and basal heart rate. So they're very kind of valuable on a daily basis. Other things that I like to use are just the blue blocking glasses, especially in the evening, so that you would start to wind down and start producing melatonin, the sleep hormone, and kind of fall asleep better. So I think that's a good combo for if you want to optimize your sleep. Then getting like an Oura ring and the blue blockers, then they're really good.
That's awesome. Any other products that you just what are you using to track your steps?
Well, the Oura ring has a step tracker as well, so you're getting like the amount of steps. So I'm using that.
Using that to track your steps. Yeah, the one thing that I love, like, I don't wear jewelry. I'm obsessed with this Oura ring. It's amazing. It's one of my favorite things because I don't like the watches. It just gets on my nerves. But I feel like the ring, I don't even hardly notice that it's
Yeah.
there. And it's just, every morning I wake up, I literally check my sleep to see how much sleep I'm getting. How much sleep are you getting each night? What's your scores looking like?
I think I sleep about 7 hours, 7 to 8 hours every day, and my scores are around like 80, somewhere around there. My deep sleep is pretty high, like usually it's 2 to 3 hours, but my REM sleep is slightly lower, around like 1 hour to 1.5 hours on most days.
Awesome. I love that. Well, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for being on our show today. Tell listeners where they can find you and where they can follow you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And my website is siimland.com, and on all the other social media platforms, I'm also Siim Land. So yeah, pretty.
There's only probably one in the world, right? You're probably the only one.
We'll see. I think maybe a few more Estonians are with the same name, but not definitely not outside of Estonia.
That's awesome. Well, if you have a question that you want answered, go to questions@chantelrayway.com. We'll see you next time.